Hi everyone. Hi, I'm Julian from Interest, and we're going to be doing a brief One Health talk. Here I'm going to be presenting to you participatory tools, more importantly, the territory game. So let's dive right in. It's going to be fun, interesting, not too long. I don't like when things are so long, so let's get at it. So, first of all, what comes to your mind when you see this? To me, I see a group of people working together over, a shared tool or technique, or over a piece of paper. That's what I'm looking at. And then when I see this, what comes to mind is, well, Zoom. I see Skype. All of these are tools, applications that are used to be able to communicate over distances, and they can be used in planning and participation of different people together. People come onto these platforms and they can communicate with each other, and they can also use this to realize project ideas and all of that. And that is the essence of what we want to talk about. Whether it's a physical presence and working over something on a table, or it's online, virtually, and you have tools that help you to achieve that, everything in that race are called participatory tools. So these tools are specific activities that are designed to encourage joint analysis, learning, and action. And we can see them as special packages, that can be very powerful ways of getting people involved. So if you use the right tool, you can touch the right type of people, and that's that. But you shouldn't hold on to that notion only that if you have the right tool, everything else is great. No, because a tool cannot be applicable to all solutions or to all situations. So don't fall into the solution trap where you think that once I have this gadget, my problems are solved. No, you have to consider a couple of questions and a couple of things, and that's what we're going to look at real quick. So the questions to consider. First of all, what is your aim and your purpose while conducting this study or conducting this project? That would help you to now also choose the type of tool that you're going to be using. Who are your stakeholders? Who are the people that are going to be involved in this study? Who are the people that are going to be involved in this project? These are the questions you need to ask yourself, because if you know who they are, you can maybe understand what type of tool would probably work best for them or not. Also, what is the setting? Is it a rural setting? Is it an urban setting? Is it an office setting? Is it a community setting? All these questions are very important to be able to understand what type of tool to use and when or why you want to use them. Another thing is the resources that you have. If you don't have enough resources to pay for some heavy digital tool, there are always ways to look at. Maybe you can do it with a less expensive, a lot cheaper versions of things. But these questions have to come into play when you want to use the tool based on the amount of resources that you have at your disposal. And then finally, the level of participation that you think will work. There are groups of people who react differently, who have their own interests, who have their own mindset, and you can sort of group them together to say, okay, if I want to use a tool for this set of people, there's a particular participation level that I'm looking for, and I think that this tool that I would use will be adapted to it. So these questions are very important to ask yourself before you choose the kind of tool you want to use. So we go on now to dive right into this aspect of the territory game. We are doing this presentation based on that. So what comes to your mind when you see this? First of all, you look at it and it's a parcel of land with some water, okay. We can see that there's a stick figure and an area that is designed for a house. Some people, I saw it as an envelope, but it's really the roof of the house if you're looking from an aerial perspective. And okay, the stick figure has some sheep, and the sheep are in a barnyard. So looking at this just as images, putting it together, we can create a little story in our head. That is a man who has his sheep, and he lives in this area which has a stream flowing by. Okay, so now we understand there's a bit of dynamics. There's the man, There's the animals, and then there's also the environment. But then we see the environment now as a place and also a space. So a place where all these things are situated geographically, and it's also a space which is open to interaction between these individual elements inside that one space. All right? And that's what One Health is about at the end of it all, the interaction between man, his animals, and the environment. But now we're looking and we're focusing a lot more on the environment because the participatory tool we're going to present is on the environment. So, looking at it in a One Health perspective, we want to understand how the environment plays a huge role in helping us to decide or to understand the dynamics at play. So where diseases are found in the environment actually, if you think about the relationships that happen between the disease and the environment. Some diseases are passed because of the interactions between the man, the animal, and the water supply, all of that. If you think a bit around maybe, let's give a brief example. The man, his animals defecate into the water, and the water is also his supply for drinking. It's possible that he can get infected through that. But if people don't map out these interactions, they might not be able to understand how the man got infected through the water supply where his animals defecated in. Do you understand how these dynamics are very important? So, as you said, other questions: where are the animals kept? How close are the animals to the man or to the water supply? And where does the man go to seek help? Either as if he's ill, or where does he take his animals to seek help? What's the distance between that? This can answer a couple of questions and help us to understand what is going on, how we can make it better, and what to do. Okay? So which means that we should stop looking at these interactions on a linear path only, just saying, okay, yes, we know man, animal, and the environment are interacting, but we should focus a lot more on the environment as well, because in that way, you can have more of a global point of view. When you think about it, you use Google Maps. Google Maps already can be used as a tool in which you can see things from this overhead perspective. And you can see, the representations. If you change it to satellite mode, for example, you can see where things are placed. And these placements are very important because you can now understand what happens between the geographical locations and how they are linked or not linked, Now, we boil down to the importance of these maps. We just spoke about having to see everything on the environment, how the diseases are related directly to the environment or not. So what are the importance of these maps? First of all, we can see them as a communication tool, in the sense that when explaining to somebody how an environmental exposure leads to health risks, by showing them on the map, they can visually see it. And communication goes way beyond just speaking to somebody or listening to somebody. Visual communication is also very important to be able to create the links between things, because now you can see it, now you understand it. You have a sort of image to what you are thinking or what you are trying to process. Also, our health-related behaviors vary across geographical settings. So, where you are is also linked to the type of health that you have. Maybe based on the infrastructure that is at your disposal, based on the factors that are around you that maybe either improve your health or reduce your health. Sorry, I speak French, so sometimes I forget my words. And then also, our health outcome is a result of our attributes. So where we live, socioeconomically speaking, the amount of money we have, the things that we can buy or cannot buy, and where we stay geographically, if we're living in the slums, if we're living in a place that has sustainable settings for exercise or for going out and all of that, these things play a role with the way our health is going to be and how we're going to live. So it's very important for us to be able to map that out, to be able to see it, and also to be able to plan to create more sustainable infrastructure or territorial development projects. And then the last one is the importance is how infrastructure, people, and agriculture, with the animals as well, interact with each other across geopolitical borders. So we're looking at, if you think about migration of people, how, for example, the COVID virus is due to the travel routes. These things have to be mapped to be able to see where one came from and where the other is going to be able to understand the dynamics and the links between them. So that is also important, and that's what maps can help you achieve. Now, right down into the territory game. First of all, what do you observe here? We see a group of people sitting together, very, heterogeneous. That's great. We have men and women, so it's very inclusive. And they're all working on a piece of paper, right? And each of them have kind of cards. Somebody's holding a couple of cards with information on them. This is how the game works, but I'll show you how to create the cards and what to do during these processes. So let's jump right in. Now, first of all, what does the territory game achieve? What it does is that it facilitates the participation of the different actors. So, as we talked about communication and using a visual tool, it helps to reunite actors together. Actors who have different interests, who would not normally sit down together to discuss something. This tool helps to bridge that gap by giving them a singular point where they can pool all their knowledge and resources and to be able to talk together. And that is one of the important things of a territory game, or most participatory tools, is that they help to reunite people and give them something, a sole focus, which helps to facilitate communication and participation. They also allow them to understand the dynamics of the territory systematically. I don't know if you have been in One Health for a bit, you know a bit about systems thinking, the art of actually being able to look at a problem systematically. And the essence of the territory game is for the actors to be able to understand the flow, the dynamics that go on within their territory, and to see how these things are linked, to see how, systematically speaking, how elements interact with one another, how it can be virtuous or it can be vicious. And in that way, they can now encourage this understanding, can encourage an involvement in more collective actions. We'll dive more into that later on, but I'm hoping that you are following and it's still as interesting as I love the game, and I think you guys would benefit a lot from it for future projects and future studies. Now, why use this tool? What's the point of using this tool? And we can use a brief thing, OPA, organization, position, action. The tool helps to organize spatially the territory and then the neighboring territories around it. So if you think about where you stay, you have your compound, you know that inside that compound, there are elements that are constantly in motion, Maybe you have a dog, you set up the dog's kennel somewhere, or, and it helps you to understand what's happening in there. But also, it can help you to understand what is going on around it and how these out or neighboring territories are linked to what you have. So that's one importance. And then by understanding it, you can now organize it because you know and you understand what is going on. It helps you to organize better. Secondly, position. You must understand that in the world, everything is in constant motion. There's a constant dynamic happening. Things are shifting, things are moving. By using this tool, you can position yourself in that dynamic, in that constant move up and down. And that helps as well because it's important sometimes to position yourself and to understand where your position is to be able to make a difference. Thirdly, action. Now, with using the tool, you're able to specify desired development models and make use of them. So by creating this thing collectively with other people, having a shared understanding, you can also create development plans and see how they might work based on the knowledge that you have pulled together to be able to act on it and make sustainable decisions. So those are the three things that this tool can offer: organization, position, action. OPA. Now, before starting or before using this tool, you still have to talk about the three methodological principles that guide this tool. And it's very important that you keep this in mind before you go and do it. First of all, you're going to conduct is used mainly for research or a project, a development project that you're working on. So you have to set a precise and collective statement of the question that underlies this intervention. And if you remember earlier, we talked about the questions to consider before using this tool or before using any participatory tool. It boils down to what your question is and how you intend to solve it. 2, the tool has a big influence on education and learning because it's a tool that combines these two things together. It helps you to bring people together, but on bringing them together, they have different information that they're going to pass. And also you as the researcher, you as the person that is conducting the interview, you also have a bigger picture. You have the question in mind that you want to share with these actors and to help them to coordinate their actions. So in that way, the tool helps to educate the actors in the territory and also the researchers because their knowledges are collectively pulled together during the game. Third is the word react. First of all, by showing people this knowledge, this new chain of knowledge that comes about by their interactions, people can reflect on the information that is produced. The actors that are present can now see and reflect on these actions. And then the tool can now help them in their own reasoning and to now act on the information that is in front of them to be able to provide more sustainable solutions to their current problems that they're facing in that territory at that moment. So how do you now use this territory game? First of all, you need a minimum amount of knowledge, okay? Because to understand how the dynamics are going on in that place, who are the actors that you need, all these questions will come about, and it's important to answer them. So how do you get this information that is needed to be able to start the game or to kickstart the game? Well, first of all, you can get it online. You know, you're talking about a territory. As I mentioned earlier, you've got Google Maps. You can Google up the area you're looking at for your research area. Check that out. It shows you a map of the area. You can take a screenshot of that to be able to see the initial dynamics, the initial positions and locations of different buildings, infrastructure in the area. And then you can also check online, get more information, statistical documents that give you more information about the place. But that's not the only way you can get this information. Secondly, you can also gather information that is qualitative. So this information can be gotten through interviews, can be gotten through surveys with the actors that are present. But you have to make sure that you are choosing the right actors because you have to make it as inclusive as possible. Don't forget that you're doing a One Health research, which means you have to look at the actors from the different social, economic, and cultural activities of the whole territory. But how can you now identify these actors? Because that is also a very important process. To be able to get these people together, you have to first identify them. And to identify them, I gave you this little table that can be used. First of all, you need to divide them into two. They're the primary stakeholders, who are the people that are affected by whatever is going on, positively or negatively. So if we say antimicrobial resistance in a particular territory, the people that might be infected would be the community at large, would also be maybe the doctors that are present or the vets present and all of that, or the people that are handling the animals. All these people that might be indirectly or indirectly affected by the particular problem that you're trying to solve, these are the people you identify as the primary stakeholders. Then you now look at the key actors, because for you to make a change or for something to happen, you need to involve people who have, first of all, political responsibility, because those are the people that can make things happen. You need to have people that have financial resources So the people that you want to involve into this study have to be the people that can give something or can help to move things, right? Same thing with people that have authority. It's possible that one person can have political responsibility, have the financial resources, and has the authority, which is great. You have to identify that person. So these are the key elements you need to use, or the criteria you need to be able to identify who these people are. Also, you need to identify people that have skills and expertise in that area. So if you want to gather more knowledge on the cultural activities of the location, you can find maybe anthropologists in that area, or maybe speak to the chairperson or the chief who has more cultural knowledge on what is going on in that place. Be creative about this, but make sure that you keep in mind these important criteria when choosing or identifying the stakeholders that would come into giving the rich and important knowledge needed to be able to construct your territory game. Then, after getting all this information, right, you can now elaborate the background of the model, elaborate the background of how the map would look, which you'd see in this second image. The image on your right, you can see that they already created a sort of model that shows maybe where the rivers are, where some of the buildings are placed. All this can be gotten from the Google Maps and then also from these interviews. These interviews can also help you to create the cards that you're going to use during the game. So all those interviews can now be written down and the real information can be broken down. Maybe the social aspect in that territory, the road network, the type of weather that is present, the type of activities that are going on in that area as well. This can be written on different cards, and then you can keep all this together to create your game. Now, the territory game would most likely take place in a participative workshop. Here, you analyze the organizing principles of the map, of the space, the territory, but you express this organization in form of graphic models. So, for example, if I didn't use my laptop, if I had a piece of paper, for example, I can draw where I think something will be using a square. That square becomes my graphic model, right? And I can now create a legend for that square so people know that if you see this square, it means a particular building in that territory, right? And then after that, you now visualize these graphic models, which will now serve as a guideline to confront and integrate the knowledge that is produced throughout the process. Okay? So you have the graphic model that you've created where everybody can see it, and because they can see it, they arrive at this shared understanding of what is going on because they co-construct this visual model together. Okay? In this way, you are integrating the process of this co-construction is the integration of this knowledge produced throughout the process. So it's pretty amazing how this tool works, you know? Then you now want to play the game. So you have your cards now, which is made up of, you know, the social aspects in the community, the weather, the road network, the housing system, the type of activities that are present, you know, maybe the type of food that is being eaten, I don't know. All these little things, maybe the restaurants that are present in the area as well. All these little things come together and constitute your cards that you're going to use during the play. And then you also have an initial template of where this area is, the territory in that area, the key buildings that are present as well. All of that is present in front of you, right? So each player now receives a number of cards. Normally, it's best to do it evenly. Maybe you create 10 cards and you have 5 participants and each of them has 2 cards each. Or you have 8 cards and you are 4 participants, so you have 2 cards each, I guess. Or a lot more cards, 32 cards for 4 each for each participant. In that way, each of them now reads one card, the information on the card, and he then summarizes this information with the rest of the territory, with the rest of the participants, right? He talks about it, they argue on it, and then they represent what was present on that card onto that model that you guys initially created. So in that way, that representation, he's arguing with the other participants, or she's arguing, and each of them work together to be able to understand how to represent this information together as a shared understanding on the map. Secondly, the second step is once this information has been placed, you now tell the participants, now imagine an evolutionary scenario. You feel that there's a problem in this area and we have identified maybe the dynamics that go on with this problem. So to solve this problem, try and think of a new scenario, a new future that you feel should be. And each participant thinks up this new future, based on a combination of dynamics. They can show possible horizons of the future. And then each person comes up with their scenario and they present it to the rest of the participants. In that way, they confront each other with their different scenarios, with their different ideas, and they debate on that. They talk about it, and then they express what they feel might be feared or what they would want in that territory. After doing that, we now frame the possible actions. So first, all the scenarios will be summarized. Then, we now look at the conditions that might either hinder or facilitate the implementation of a given scenario. We highlight them and we say, okay, this thing, we don't want these, but we also want these. So we kind of categorize them and create them as elements, right? Then these actions are now set out to be taken to achieve the desired directions. So once you have highlighted out the conditions that would facilitate or hinder, they now set action strategies to be able to reach or to be able to achieve these conditions. We now record what these courses of actions would be for later use. Okay? In conclusion, the territory game has a variety of lovely advantages that can be used, and it has been proven. There's a lot of articles, usually a lot of French articles, so I'll try to find a lot more English articles as well that I can share to show you how lovely this tool is and what the possibilities you can do with it. So it shows its relevance in fostering the learning of the expression of points of views. In that way, it shows that by using this tool, you are able to show other participants what your point of view is in a game, engaging, fun way that would make them interested in listening and learning from that. And also they would pass on their own knowledge. And this way everybody can express their point of view at the same time. By expressing point of views, it leads to a confrontation of ideas. You guys listen to it, you trash it out together, and you kind of understand, okay, what's the way forward and how can we advance together collectively as a team? And then also it helps to achieve a better collective ownership of a territorial development project. Because if people are invested in something, they've put in time to understand the dynamics at play, they now share a responsibility for the actions that will be taken on this project, this developmental project of the environment. Thanks so much for sticking around, less than 30 minutes. And thank you so much for that. Bye, guys.